12:15. Mums-to-be in Liverpool are being offered a new method which claims to help them stop smoking. The city's Women's Hospital is currently conducting trials to determine whether pregnant women who are unable to give up using willpower alone would benefit from a new product called NicoBloc, which allows them to continue to smoke for up to 6 weeks during their pregnancy. NicoBloc is simply cornstarch, a food additive which you put on the end of your cigarette before smoking it. It claims to prevent you from inhaling 99% of nicotine tar. At the same time as using it, however, you have to reduce the number of cigarettes that you smoke. Well, Bernie Morris tried NicoBloc after trying and failing to give up throughout her first pregnancy.
Well, I was a 20-day smoker at the time, and when I got pregnant on my first pregnancy, everything went fine until near the end of the pregnancy. I tried to cut down on cigarettes, and some days it would work, other days it didn't work. And when I got to 30 weeks, I was taken in with very high blood pressure and toxemia. And at 34 weeks, my daughter was born at £2 13 ounces. And even at 34 weeks premature, she should have been a bit heavier than that.
And you did try, I take it, to give up?
I tried everything. I tried patches, chewing gum, cutting down. I tried everything, willpower, even to the stage where I would leave it till I'd be going to bed at night and have 2 or 3 before I'd go to bed. But I found bedtime was coming earlier every night, and I was back on them in no time.
So when you were pregnant with your second child, what happened then?
Before I became pregnant with my second child, I wanted to give them up because I had had a couple of miscarriages before that, and I'd been told to try and give up smoking, and I had tried everything. And the nurse in the company where I worked brought in this course, this NicoBloc course. The first thing was you didn't have to give up smoking straight away. You could continue to smoke, but you put a drop of this syrup onto the tip of the cigarette every time you smoked. And even though you weren't actually cutting down for the first 2 or 3 days, after the first week, you found you weren't smoking as many. I found my biggest time for smoking was, would say, when I'd come in from work in the evenings, cook the dinner, sit down, I would really enjoy 2 or 3 cigarettes. And days had gone by when I found I was actually washing up the dishes after the dinner, and said, God, I never had my cigarette after the dinner. Because the craving, whatever this done, it just reduced your intake of nicotine. Plus, every week, there was a support system in work where the company would come in and they would measure your carbon monoxide levels in your blood and your oxygen levels. They'd done that when we started, and we could see how high they were. And every week, even though we were still smoking, they were reduced.
So that encouraged you more and more?
Plus the fact that without even doing anything, you were actually cutting down on the cigarettes. You weren't smoking as many, or you didn't have that awful longing. And by the time it got to the 6 weeks, I was off them.
And what about Dara?
Shortly after that, I became pregnant with Dara, and I was so worried about getting blood pressure, even still, and everything. But flew through the pregnancy, carried him full term, and he was born at 8 pound weight, perfect.
Bernie Morris. Well, listening to her, Dr. Alex Milne, who advises the company which makes NicoBloc, and Amanda Sanford, research manager for the group Action on Smoking and Health. Dr. Alex Milne, how does it actually work, this cornstarch?
You put it on the filter end of the cigarette. What it does is it makes the filter into a sort of moist, sticky surface, a bit like the inside of the lungs. It actually traps a certain proportion of the tar and nicotine as you're smoking. You don't cut it right down to nearly nothing the first time you use it. You start with a single drop and it takes some of it out. My personal feeling is that it's what's important here is that the amount of nicotine goes down gradually, and it probably doesn't fall fast enough to give you the severe withdrawal symptoms. But in addition to the physical action of the liquid, there's a lot of behaviour modification going on here that's terribly important. You change your action. You don't get the cigarette straight out of the pack into the mouth. You actually have to stop and put the fluid on. You're doing some goal setting. You have a reduction target that you try and achieve each week. They're all very positive things that can help people to quit.
And we heard it helped